So here's the tool from last time. These are hemostats. Some people maybe call them forceps. They're a kind of locking plier. I guess hemostat means, if you look it up, stop blood or blood stop, hemostat. But these are great because what they've done is they've taken the function. There are two functions that these things have, and they've taken them and separated them. The first function is actually holding a part. Like if you put a nut in like this, for example, you would hold it and you have to grip down here normally. And in the process of doing that, you're applying force here to grip the part, and that makes it hard to position this thing because you're squeezing, and squeezing here doesn't make it easy to position. But these have this function. They lock. Now the nut or whatever it is, the bolt, the screw, the seal, whatever you're doing with this is locked in, held firmly. And that's great because now instead of having to squeeze this while you're trying to delicately slide this between two things, whatever that is, you can just, you're not squeezing anymore. You can use just your fingertips to very delicately, fit it in between something. And it's that separation of function, the gripping and the positioning, that makes these so great. These are pretty big ones. I think these are about 12, 14 inches long, and you can get them at Harbor Freight. I don't know that they call them hemostats, but they are excellent for this purpose. Now, they also work, you can even put a large nut in. This is what is this, half 13? No, this is 3/8/16. And even something that large, they flex enough to hold that and allow for me now to just, position it with a couple of fingers. I don't have to grab and hold this. There are other tools that do this as well. Certainly there are other sizes of hemostats. Here's some small ones that I have. And these are good for working on cameras and, things that are even tinier. These, for working on cars, they can help. But I think this size is even better. Reaching under a dashboard or down between the manifold and the firewall or whatever to get something that you've lost, to hold something while you tighten it. And you can see they make them in different styles. These are bent. These are super convenient, the bent tip. And there are some they're bent even more, and then some that are, instead of straight, they're bent down, and there's all kinds. And I'm going to get some more. I suddenly realized I only really have these three. So there are other tools that do this too. For example, vice grips. These are vice grips, I guess, are a brand of locking plier, and these actually say vice grip on them. But these lock onto a part, so you can separate the gripping with the positioning. And you got to have a bunch of these. They're excellent. Needle nose. These have gotten me out of a lot of jams because sometimes you can't fit the big ones in. You just need something small. So these are excellent too. And this one I just used to hold a GoPro under a car, this tiny one. I'm finding tiny tools like this that are well made are more and more useful for some reason. So here's the Kohler, 12 horsepower Kohler. I'll put the model number on the screen. It's a single engine, or single cylinder engine that's on this Wheelhorse C120. The head, actually, there's a little bit of, you can see this black coloration right here, And when I was trying to get it started the other day, I finally did get it started. I noticed black sooty exhaust shooting out this area here. And so I think that I've got a bad head gasket. I'm hoping the head isn't warped or cracked or some other problem. Wow, relatively easy. I've heard that it can be a good idea to take bolts like this off with a rattle gun, but I wanted to see just how tight they were, and these are real surprisingly not torqued down. Now I'm using my breaker bar, but there's not much happening here. I mean, wow. I suppose these have never been torqued. They probably are supposed to be retorqued. Let me get the plug out. Very sooty. Okay, it might be that all the bolts are the same length, but in case they aren't, I'm going to make up this little holder for them as I go along. Yay, it comes right off. Now let's see what we got here. Wow. Let's see if you guys can see that. I'm going to be careful I don't drop this. You can see all the black around the thing where the combustion gases were escaping. Pretty extensive. Here's the gasket, which I have to say looks like it's in very good shape. I think this head was simply needed to be retorqued. I mean, it seems very good. You can see where the gases probably escaped right there. Let me bring this up. And here, where it's all black, it should be shiny like this all around, and not black where the gases escaped. You can see they came flying out here. And then the head itself really tells the tale where it came out. All right, I'm going to clean this and check it, but before I do, I'm going to do what I think is the hardest job of all, which is retrieve that bolt that I dropped down into the fan housing. Oh boy, that'll be fun. Okay, it looks like, fortunately, the bolt is right there. And with a little bit of luck, maybe a lot of luck, I can get the magnet in. Bring it out. Come on now. Oh. Yes, Bart Simpson. Good, I didn't want to have to take that whole side cover off to get that bolt back. Phew! Okay, we're back with the head itself. And the question is, how flat is this? I think I'm just going to clean this up with Scotch-Brite. And maybe first, a brass brush, a soft brush. I don't really want to scratch anything up. This actually looks pretty good. The gasket itself, I think I'll clean and keep, but I think I'll use the other gasket. Let me show you the other gasket that I got. Here's the one I got in preparation for this one, for this job rather. That looks like the right one, all right. So it's cost $9, I think. $10 with the shipping. So it's a brass brush. It's very soft. So I think the head is cast iron and much harder. Although, yeah, that's cast iron. Here's a magnet. Wait, that might not be cast iron. That might be an aluminum head. Let's see. Yeah. Aluminum or magnesium. So I gotta be careful not to scratch it. I'm using this soft brass rather than a steel brush. I feel like it's in very good shape. It doesn't seem warped at all. So this is my granite inspection table, and it's very flat. It's a very flat piece of granite. I don't know how accurate it is, but you know, to 1/1000th of an inch probably from here to here or something like that. I've hardly used this in the last 25 years. I bought this thing to build stuff for a movie called Titanic. And I did use it a little bit for that movie, not much. And I built this big stand for it. And there's a cover that goes over the top to protect it. And I've even supported it at the edges with a rubber pad and the correct way and blah, blah, blah. I'd like to use it more, do more sort of Mr. Pete Tubal-Cain stuff with it. Maybe I will. Anyway. Almost no rock at all this way, like nothing. I mean, I'm hearing something, but I actually don't feel anything. From here, a couple of thou. So this is, I think this is very good. I'm feeling a ridge here. And right around that ridge, the outside of that ridge is where the gasket goes. So I'm feeling pretty good about this going right back together. I could put sandpaper on here and do a figure 8, take that ridge off. It looks to me like there's a very fine ridge here that's been pounded into the head. And I'm going to look at it some more, but I think that gets thinner, goes all the way around, and it matches the old gasket. You can see the lines running vertically. Those seem to be the old fly cutter. And I don't see this ridge like I see in the soft aluminum. There's the fly cutter lines going right through. So yeah, this actually looks very good. I'm going to clean it up some more, and I'm going to sand the head down on the reference granite and put it back together. Looks like my battery is going, but this cleaned up very nicely. That's 150 grit sandpaper. Let's see. So I'm getting ready to put it back together. Let's turn the light on. I'm curious to know the condition of the engine. The piston isn't moving it in the bore at all. Now I'm going to go down here and kind of crank the engine over, see if I can get the piston to move, and I can examine the, I know, I'm trying to do this one-handed. I can examine the bore. Boy, that feels just great. You see the reflection of my finger off of it. Going all the way around, very smooth. There's a bit of a ridge here, which I imagine is to be expected, but that's okay. But, by golly, if I can get some reflection going. It's very smooth. A little bit of scratches. This is great. It feels really good. So cast iron, I think, is what's going on here. All right, now time to put it back together. We go to the other side. Now I'm on the other side. Yeah, I used a little bit of Scotch-Brite that I had laying around just to clean up, and then ran my finger over it. I've seen people sandpaper this, but I think that's a little bit excessive. I could put a stone across the mount here, but the valves are in the way, so I'm not going to stone it. You know, use like a, there you can see the intake valve going up. I guess I'll leave it like that. Make sure I don't have anything on here that could get trapped. I think I might wipe this down with a little brake cleaner. Stand by. Very good. Go ahead and this way we just make sure. All it would take would be a little bit of grit, something hard to get wedged where the gasket goes. And then you wouldn't have a good seal. So that feels fine. Okay. Gasket goes on. Feels good, no grit. Let's see, is it this way? It is not that way. It must be this way. It is that way. Now, the other thing is, I'll cover that up. Here's my cardboard with all my bolts on it, and one of the things said, put a little oil on each one for proper torque settings. I'm putting motor oil. Actually, I think this is 10-weight machine oil. It's a little thicker than motor oil. I'll put that on each one so I get a good torque reading. I guess if they're dry, you have more friction, and more friction means more turning force. So maybe when they're lubed like this, you actually get a higher clamping force from the same torque setting on your torque wrench. Okay, now I need to get the bolt tightening sequence figured out, but I'll put the bolts in, then I'll go get the sequence. Okay, looks good. This comes off. Once again, we're going to feel everything to make sure it's smooth. And here's the head that you saw me work on the granite. Feels very good. Okay, this goes on. It must go on like this. line up all our holes, and line up all our holes like that, like that. Let's feel like that got moved a little bit. I'll try and get this as close as I can. Bring it in. Let's see, here and here. Okay. Now we go ahead and drop our bolts back in. There we go. Good. Just pulling those off the cardboard. And the last guy. This has that thing on it. Now, I am going to use my ratchet, power ratchet. These are all super loose. That one actually stopped a little bit. That one I'm going to loosen up. In fact, I think I'll go ahead and loosen all of these up. This one. Okay. Great. Now I'm going to loosen them all up before I tighten them all up. The torque wrench. Although, okay, that's about how hard they were tightened when they're very loose now. I'm going to loosen them all up, and I'm just going to barely snug them up by hand according to the bolt pattern. Gotta go get the bolt pattern. Okay, I got my hole pattern. Got this off the interweb, one of the sites, so it's pretty straightforward. Let's see, if I put it here, I can still see it. Okay, one, just gonna snug, I'm just gonna do these till they're just snug. 1, 2, that one was already tight, so let's loosen it. Let's loosen this. Make sure they're all loosened. This is probably overkill. I would imagine the bigger the cylinder head, the more important the bolt pattern is. This is a pretty small. This is a pretty small cylinder head. It's only one cylinder, so okay. 1, 2, there's 3. 3, that's interesting. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Do that one more time. 1, 2. I missed 3. 3. I'm going to do that over again. I mistook 3 for 5. How about that? I don't think it really matters. Just being overly cautious here. All loose. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we'll switch over to the torque wrench. 360 inch-pounds. I'm just going to advance this a little bit, but not quite do the click yet. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now let's go a little farther. 1. Yeah, this is much greater than what I'd done before. 7. Wait, 1, 2. What was I doing 7 when I wanted to do 3? Three, 4, 5. Okay, let's see if we can get a click out of it. Nice. 2, 3, 4, 5. Get in there. Okay, there's 1. Last bolt on this side, right near the governor lever, so it's a bit of a much to get in there. No torque settings on these, just feel and common sense. It feels like it stopped. It feels like it stopped. Here's the Kohler engine owner's manual, all the specs. And the question is, would I have done this over again? Well, you know, if I had a job to do, if I had to mow the lawn or push the snow out of the way and I needed to get that over with, and I saw the exhaust gases shooting out from the side of the head where the head gasket is, knowing what I know now, I think I would just tighten those head bolts. I would find the torque specs and the torque diagram, and I would have just tried tightening the head bolts down and see if that would have solved my problem. And I think it would, and I don't think there would have been any problem with doing that. I don't think it would have caused an issue if I just said, well, let me just tighten the head bolts down, see if that works. But I'm glad I actually replaced the head gasket, sanded the head down, and I took it all apart and looked at everything. I learned a lot. One of the things I learned was that I maybe didn't have to do it that way. But this way I know that the head gasket is new and everything's torqued down. And boy, that engine runs really well now. So, here is the tool for next time. What is it? What does it do? What is it called? And I'm going to tell you something now, which is that I don't know what this thing is. I mean, I get what it does. You tighten it, and these things pinch together. I'm guessing this is an automotive tool. I'll go to a garage sale and there'll be a box of tools for $5, and I'll just buy a whole box of tools, and I won't know what every tool is in the box, but this was one of them. And maybe you in the comments can tell me what the heck this is. I'm thinking it has something to do with battery terminals, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. It may be that if I do a search with KD tools, K&D or KD, which is that tool of those specialty tools that you find when you go to the auto parts store. There's usually a rack of them somewhere that help you do specialized things on your car. I'm thinking that might turn up something. Anyway, here's the tool for next time. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out, and I will see you in the next video.